Hey guys, it's Adrian with the Upholstery Studio, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a simple mesh back cushion just like this one. This is actually a cushion that was featured in one of my previous videos, but for this sake I'm going to use this as an example. I'm going to pretend this came off of a boat. So I'm going to tear this apart, I'm going to pattern this out, and I'm going to remake it exactly like it is now, just like I would on a boat, or if I'm redoing patio furniture or whatever. These are definitely one of the most common types of cushions I do on any type of upholstery. Just like I mentioned in my previous video, I'm going to be trying to make all of these videos as easy as possible to understand so you can watch them and confidently know how to make a simple cushion just like this one. And this cushion is going to be split into a few parts, so stay tuned in a couple days when the next one comes out. But without further ado, let's get into part one. So part one is going to be the prep of this. And the way I go about prepping all of these mesh back cushions, I ignore absolutely all of this. The only thing I use is the mesh right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut this mesh out at the seams. This is the only thing we need of that cushion to be able to duplicate it. The reason why I only use the mesh, based off of my experience, the mesh gives me the most accurate shape to the boat. If I go off of the top where people are constantly sitting and the weather has messed it up and it's really hard and crackly and stuff, this has always been the easiest for me and the most exact, which is why I always use the mesh as the pattern. Now that we have this drawn out, we are going to draw our match marks on this. The match marks are basically just going to be these tick marks I put everywhere. So I have a 1 and a 2. You just do them completely randomly. And what that's going to allow me to do is make sure I know the top and the bottom are going to line up. So put however many you want. Whatever, you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Doesn't matter as long as they're unique and you can't get them mixed up. And I'm going to trace this out onto this top piece because this is a perfect square. The bottom and the top are going to be the exact same. Now you can see this zipper is sewn to the inside of the cushion, so this is the inside of the mesh. And when you're making these, you always want to draw it out inside to inside. Basically, the inside of the mesh is touching the inside of the vinyl. So, got the inside of the mesh face down, touching the inside of the vinyl. And I'm going to draw this out. I'm just doing tick marks. You don't necessarily need to trace the entire outline. I like to do tick marks. It's a lot faster as long as you get the whole perimeter. From here, I'm going to draw my match marks along the outside. Just like this. And I'm going to take this off. There we have it. I have it all drawn out. But since we cut this at the seam line, this is where it was sewn, we have to add our seam allowance, which is basically just the excess that's going to allow us to sew the actual material on. So if I ever cut at the seam, I always add a 1/2 inch. That way I know no matter what, when I'm sewing on my sewing machine, I know to sew inside a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to add that 1/2 inch. You can get these at Lowe's. They're just aluminum 1/2 inch sticks. Very convenient. We're just going to cut it out. Now another thing I like to do, because I drew on pencil on the inside of this, you flip it over, you can't see any match marks at all. So what I like to do, just pinch it where a match mark is, just like this, and I'll snip off that little corner. So you can see that little notch out, and I know that's where one of my match marks is. And so for this one I got a little 2 mark. So I'm just gonna do both of these. And you can see I got the 2 little notches out and the 1 little notch. And I'm going to do that for every single match mark. Now that we got this drawn out, I refer to this as the main body of the cushion, because this is going to be the top surface, the part you sit on. So this is the main body. We are now going to cut out the boxing, which is the little strip of material that goes around the perimeter of this. The sides, if you will. I refer to that as the boxing. And this is a 2-inch thick cushion. The foam is 2 inches thick, obviously. So we need to keep that into account when we're cutting this boxing. Basically, all you need to remember when cutting out boxing, how thick is your foam? Add 3/4 of an inch to that, and that's how thick it needs to be. Sewing that will allow you to have the compression you need. So because this is a 2-inch thick cushion, I'm going to sew the boxing at 2 3/4 of an inch. And the way I'm going to get the distance, the perimeter plus a little bit extra. So I'm just going to hold this on this edge. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna make a mark down here to give myself a little bit extra, and you'll see why we need that later. I'm gonna follow this straight line. Now I'm gonna mark up 2 3/4 of an inch. Now if you wanted, you could add that 1/4 inch so it's just an even 3 inches and you have a 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides. But what that's going to do, that's going to make the cushion look really loose, just because it's not squeezing on the foam and making that foam fill out every square inch. So I just made a bunch of tick marks. 2 3/4. Now I'm just going to connect the dots. And then cut it out. And there we have our boxing. We're not going to be adding any match marks to this right now. We are going to do that after we sew it on. Don't worry about that for now. All we're doing is just prepping the cushion and getting the pieces cut out. So now we have our main body and our boxing. We're going to set this aside. The last thing we're going to cut out is going to be the actual mesh itself. So we wrote inside on this. I always like to draw on the inside because obviously that's going to be the inside of the cushion. You can draw all over it and you won't be able to see it. If you draw on the outside, you need to make sure you clean it off. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to transfer all these match marks to the inside just to make it easier for me. Alright, so now we got all the match marks on the outside and the inside. I am always going to draw on the inside of any piece of material I'm tracing out. So I'm going to make sure I'm looking at the inside. And I'm going to draw it out the exact same way I drew out the main body. Now, because when we were drawing out the main body, that was essentially a mirror of this. We were drawing it face down. But because we are just exactly duplicating this mesh right here, we're going to copy it exactly. We're looking at the inside, we're drawing on the inside. So this is going to be the inside of this new piece of mesh we are cutting out. Again, trace our match marks. And then, again, we are going to add our seam allowance. We're going to line that up. Stuff's kind of hard to see. Can't forget to label the inside. So we're going to write I/S so we don't forget. Now we're going to cut it out. And now we have our mesh cut out. Now, if you remember, for the main body, I cut those little snips. I'm not going to do that on the mesh for a couple of reasons. This is covered with holes, so it's going to be really hard to see those notches, at least for me. And the pencil marks don't really erase that well on the mesh. They're not going anywhere, so this is going to be just fine. I usually don't put in those notches. I just leave it like this. We now have the main body, the mesh, and the boxing. Those are all the pieces we need cut out, and that is all the prep that is needed for this cushion in particular. The next video I will be going over how to sew all of this together. So that is going to wrap things up for part 1 of this video series. This was the prep for a mesh back cushion. This is a simple one. It doesn't have any crazy shapes or designs or pulls or anything, just a plain Jane mesh back cushion. And I'll make sure to link everything in the description, all of the materials used if I can find them, the tools used or the tools needed. Take a peek down in the description. All of that should be in there to the best of my ability. And if for any reason you want to reach out to me personally, if you want to chat or whatever, I will also link my Instagram. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. If you even want to send some of your work so I could kind of judge it for you, who knows? It can never hurt to have a couple pointers. That's a thing you can do, and I will see you guys in the next one.